Motherwell up against HJK Helsinki. Andy Halliday, Scott Allen and Tom English are with me in the studio. So don't give me the names yet, but how many Scottish sides are going through tonight? Mr. English, you kick us off.
I would say 2.
I'm going to back you up with 2.
I'm going to go 3.
Oh, like that. Right, lots of positivity.
Don't guess he's got the 4th, isn't he, going for it?
Alright, listen, it's hard to make a case for Hearts. Let's hope they get a good performance and hopefully kick on from that good performance at the weekend against Dundee United. So that is the plan for tonight. We'll cross now to Ibrox and set the scene for you ahead of a big night there. Stephen Thompson is there alongside our match commentator, Liam McLeod. Good evening to you, Liam. You guys covered the first leg for us. How big a test do Rangers face tonight?
It's slightly cooler here than it was this time last week in Bialystok, but it's still a very pleasant evening. Blue skies above here in Glasgow as the late afternoon sunshine covers just about half the pitch down below us, which is being sprinkled just now, and the Bialystok coaches are already getting the cones down there. A few of the players have been out checking out the surface, but yeah, this is a huge night for Derek McInnes personally, but for Rangers collectively as well, as they try and get themselves into the Europa League. We saw enough from Jagiellonia last week to know that they will cause Rangers problems tonight. I think most people I've spoken to, be that former professionals or supporters, they kind of feel as though Jagiellonia will score tonight. It's about how many Rangers score and how many they can keep out at the other end. It's well documented the defensive problems that McInnes has right now, with injuries and new signings perhaps not being quite up to speed yet. And up against a Jagiellonia side that have done well in Europe in recent seasons. They're relative newcomers. They were in the quarter-finals of the Conference League a couple of seasons ago, got through to the knockouts last term as they try and get into the Europa League proper for the first time. But a little bit of one or two issues with the visitors, actually. They started the league season with back-to-back wins before beating Rangers last week. But they were offered a postponement at the weekend against Woodsley Lodge on Sunday. It was a game, though, that the coach, Adrian Siemienetz, was adamant that he wanted to play. So he refused the idea of a postponement, so that they would have been able to focus on this second leg. Played the match, lost 2-0 at home, and he's been getting slaughtered for that. And this is a coach that is so revered, led them to their first title, took them to the Conference League quarters, and before all that he helped them escape relegation from the Ekstraklasa, the top tier in Poland, just after he took over. But he's been getting a little bit of stick for that decision. So regardless of what happens tonight, the Ekstraklasa have stepped in and have postponed their matches, the next 2 games. So whichever playoff they're in, whether it be the Europa League with a win over Rangers or the Conference League against Jagiellonia, as it looks to be, they will not be playing a league game either side of those 2 legs. And we know that the SPFL have allowed Rangers to postpone a game between the 2 legs of the playoff. But Jagiellonia are getting dog's abuse from their own supporters for that. Whether Rangers will be able to capitalise on any kind of insecurity they have because of that, we'll find out in the fullness of time. We're expecting the team news in about 9 minutes. It is absolute perfect conditions, though, for this game as Derek McInnes looks for his first win as Rangers manager, having made statistically the worst start of any Rangers full-time manager.
Yeah, it feels like a big night, Stephen, for Derek McInnes. Good evening to you. Liam touched there on the defensive issues that he has. We saw some dreadful defensive mishaps out in Poland. You'd think any repeat of these tonight, it'll be a long old night for Rangers.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think defensively, clearly that was a big issue over in Bialystok. Both of the goals that Rangers conceded were extremely poor. They fought back into the game after having taken an early lead, and then couldn't quite get over the line to get a second goal to come back here with a draw. But I think it's very much a case about who scores the first goal tonight. You know, the fans here are frustrated with the start to the season, so they need something from this Rangers team to get behind. Obviously at the weekend there, disappointing defeat to Hibernian. So if Rangers score the first goal, and we've been here on numerous occasions at Ibrox, the European crowd can be such a big factor in spurring the team on. So if they get that first goal, I'd expect Rangers to go on and win the game. The problem being is that Rangers haven't been sharp at the top end of the pitch. You know, both the goals that they've scored so far in the 3 games they've played competitively this season have come from own goals, and they've looked a wee bit shot shy or profligate at the top end of the pitch. So they need to find their shooting boots. It's a big night for whoever's playing up front. As you'd imagine, Lawrence will be in there. And he's desperate to get off the mark for Rangers. So it will be difficult though, because as much as Liam's saying, you know, this isn't a top European side, and we've seen Rangers beat top European sides at Ibrox here in the past in home legs. But we're not talking about a team here who are, you know, rubbish. This is a decent enough side, and they showed last week when they turn the ball over, they get forward in real numbers. They've got pace. Smith down the left-hand side ran amok, and they've got quality. They've got a striker in Prelec, if he plays, that can lead the line. So I'd expect them to cause Rangers problems. So it's very much in the balance. I do feel as though the first goal is going to be absolutely pivotal though.
As Liam said, Andy, we'll get the team news just shortly. In terms of shape, what are you hoping to see from Derek McInnes tonight? What do you think you'll see?
I think it's very difficult. I think given the lack of defensive options that Derek McInnes has got, and we've already seen for the previous 3 games, he's altered his shape every single game because he's just searching for a formula. He's just searching for any winning formula he possibly can, whether it be shape or personnel. So it wouldn't surprise me if they changed shape from the weekend, just given that they obviously played 4-4-2 and Yusuf Chamiti get injured early on. I think Ryan Nadiri is obviously under a bit of criticism as well as others, it's got to be said. So I think it's very difficult with the lack of defensive options that Derek McInnes has. Doesn't have a recognised left back. I think both his right backs at this moment in time probably aren't in the best of form. So it'll be interesting to see what he goes for in terms of that defensive issues, and obviously the midfield problems as well. But you know, just to follow on for what Tomo says there, I think we've quite often seen our best at Rangers on Thursday nights, given it's European nights, given the atmosphere that's there. But it's got to work both ways. The players have to give the fans something to shout about at the start of the game. They can't be as pedestrian, as lacklustre as they were against Hibs on Sunday. And for me, not even just the first goal, I think if Rangers start well in the first 10-15 minutes, I think they've got too much for Jagiellonia. And I get last week we watched them, I think in transition moments they look good, they look threatening. But if Rangers raise their levels 10%, I expect them to get through tonight.
Scott, you're on duty for us tonight covering the Hibs game. That one kicks off at 7 o'clock. There'll be option of commentary from that one. You watched Hibs do a number on Rangers at Ibrox on Sunday. What were the concerns for you around the Rangers side?
My concern when I seen early on that Derek McInnes was going with the 4-4-2, I always felt when they come up against a team who could athletically match them, I feel that Hibs have that personnel in their squad to do that. Always felt if a team like that got their noses in front, it would be very difficult with the personnel and the shape for Rangers then to go and create, and it proved to be that way. Other than Jogita, for me there was no Rangers players looking to really demand the ball and go and create, and nothing that really gave Rangers a chance to consistently get their better players on the ball to go and do that. And then to add on top of that, defensively, I just thought they looked a real weakness here. Anytime Hibs went forward and they managed to string a couple of passes and switch play, they looked as if they were really threatening. So the fact that Jagiellonia comes in as a centre mid and he was now playing at right back on Sunday, I think that's a huge concern when there's 2 right backs in Sterling and McCrory, who they spent money on coming in. I think the fact he went with Jagiellonia tells you that he's not happy with that position. Then to add the injury to Robbins to that, I think you will see a change of shape. But for me, I just think both boxes, if you're not good in both boxes, and at this moment in time, I don't think Rangers look like a good side in either. I think there's always chances there where you can be played against, and Hibs certainly took advantage of that. I don't think Hibs were unbelievable, they just done a number, and I would not be surprised if Jagiellonia looked at parts of that game, as with the game last Thursday, and see if we can frustrate them, maybe force them into these straight balls into the middle of the park. There's chances for us to get at this Rangers defence.
John, we said on Saturday evening when we had fans join us, not in terms of his job, but it felt like a big week for Derek McInnes in terms of getting the supporters on board. Tonight seems all the more important. It feels like a big night tonight following that defeat on Sunday. You were also there alongside Scott.
Yeah, I think every game is a big game for Derek McInnes. When he's trying to put together a new team, and there are big gaping holes in it because of the injuries, and even despite the injuries, there were still areas where they were top heavy, centre and midfield, and areas where they were light, out wide. And now with the injury to Chermiti, they have a striker issue because he clearly doesn't fancy Majowski. So there's all sorts of plates being spun at Ibrox right now. This is a nightmarish beginning for McInnes. You can already see in his press stuff, yesterday particularly, where he looks like a man who's under pressure. Looks like a man who's not enjoying it, and why would he? Because he's got a bad injury record at the moment, and he's got a support that are getting a little bit antsy. He got the board members at the shareholders meeting saying, "Look, come on, get behind the players." It's a kind of an appeal for everyone to calm down. But like, appeals for people to calm down is all very well. If you're Rangers and you're Rangers supporters, and you've seen this movie before, year after year after year, no title, patience is gone. Derek McInnes doesn't get the benefit of Rangers fans' patience because shot to pieces.
Yeah, as Tomo said, Andy, I think he's bang on the money. The start feels crucial for me tonight. I don't think toxic's too strong a word to use. We covered Rangers in Europe last season. We covered domestic games as well where they weren't playing well. And it turns very quickly. And you guys know how tough that is. Some players just can't hack that.
Yeah, 100%, and that's why I mentioned earlier that on a Thursday night, Rangers quite often are at their best because it's, like everybody says, it's day nights under the lights at Ibrox or Celtic Park and European nights where they quite often bring their best atmosphere, but like, it works both ways. You know, if you give a performance that can translate to the fans and vice versa, then I think Rangers will have too much for Jagiellonia. But Tomo mentioned earlier, Rangers need to find their shooting boots. They also need to find their passing boots, their creative boots, and their boots that let them defend as well. There's not really there's not really a facet of Rangers game at this moment in time that's clicking. You know, personnel as well, I don't really think anyone's at the top of their game, so it's a big night not only for Rangers, Derek McInnes, but also players as well.
And it's also a Rangers scene that's being played out against the backdrop of Celtic finally appearing to get their act together.
Yeah.
In terms of the signings, 2 more today. These guys are probably starters. At least 3 of the 4 that they've signed. Mika Bauer is 22, central midfielder. If Engels goes, then he will start, you would imagine, because he plays in that area.